Ever feel like you need like a decoder ring or something just to figure out what to eat?
I know, right?
Like it's this whole big mystery.
Yeah.
Well, get ready to dive in because today we are tackling the wild world of nutrition and we're going straight to the source, Reddit.
Ooh, Reddit.
Yes, our nutrition to be exact. It's where all the burning questions, the myths, the real people struggles, it all comes out.
This is going to be good.
It is. So first up, someone wants to know, are there any fruits, veggies, or nuts that are just straight up bad for you?
It's a good question, right? Because we always hear, eat your fruits and veggies. But are there exceptions? It's true that these foods are generally considered healthy. They're packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber. But like anything, there are nuances.
Okay, so what are the nuances? Like when it comes to fruit, for example, is the sugar content something to worry about?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Fruit does have sugar, it's true. But it's natural sugar, and it's packaged with fiber, which, that helps regulate how your body absorbs it. So it's not like that sugar rush you get from like a candy bar.
So not all sugar is created equal.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, what about nuts? Those are super calorie dense, but good fats, right?
Got it. Nuts are awesome. Healthy fats, protein, fiber, but portion control is key. Now, there is one exception, though. Betel nuts. Those you want to avoid. They've been linked to some health issues.
Betel nuts.
Yeah, you might not see them at your typical grocery store.
Good to know. Okay, this next one is a constant debate. Is it better to graze throughout the day or stick to set meal times? One listener was specifically wondering about the impact on, like, gut health.
Gut health. Everyone wants a happy gut these days. And for good reason. It really is central to our overall well-being.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what's the verdict on the whole grazing versus meal times thing?
Honestly, the research is still a bit mixed. Some folks find that smaller, frequent meals, they help with, keeping things moving.
Okay.
And it can prevent those big blood sugar spikes and crashes. But then you have others who, they swear by those distinct meal times, giving their digestive system a break to, rest and reset.
So it sounds like it really depends on the person.
Yeah. There's no one right answer. It's about finding what works for you and your body.
Listening to your gut. Literally. All right, speaking of food choices, one listener always makes a beeline for the green veggies at brunch, like spinach, kale, the works. Good strategy, or a case of greenwashing.
Well, you can't go wrong with green veggies. They really are nutritional powerhouses, full of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants.
Okay, so good choice then.
Yeah, and this is important, it's not about, demonizing other veggies. Think of it like a balanced diet, right? Variety is key.
Right, so don't discriminate against those bell peppers?
Exactly. Each color brings its own set of benefits. Like those red and orange veggies, they're packed with carotenoids, which are great for your eyes.
Interesting. So we're getting that rainbow of colors in our diet. Now let's talk about something that trips a lot of people up. Food labels. One listener was completely baffled by the calorie count on a box of Barilla pasta.
Yeah. Food labels, they can be tricky little devils, can't they?
Yeah. For real. What's the deal with the pasta?
It's all about serving sizes, you see. They can be deceptively small. Plus, they usually list the calories for dry pasta. But of course, when you cook it, it soaks up water and boom, way more volume.
So you end up eating more than you think.
Exactly. It's sneaky.
Sneaky pasta. So the lesson here is...
Always double check that serving size, and if it's for cooked or uncooked, it can make a big difference.
Okay, good to know. Now let's dive into a topic that's generating a lot of buzz these days. Microplastics. One listener was specifically trying to find foods and drinks that are totally microplastic free, worried about the impact on their health and the environment.
It's definitely a valid concern, and who can blame them? It's kind of freaky when you think about it. Those tiny plastic particles everywhere.
It's a bit unsettling.
Totally. Now, the research on the direct impact on human health is still ongoing, but it's understandable that people are concerned about, the long-term effects.
So what can we actually do? It feels kind of overwhelming.
It's about making mindful choices where we can. Like the listener mentioned, almond milk packaging. Some brands use plastic, others use cardboard. Opting for the cardboard is a small step, but it all adds up.
Small steps. Okay, now let's talk calorie deficits for a sec. One listener was wondering if that deficit number, directly translates to calories burned from fat stores.
That's a really common misconception. Our bodies are amazing, complex machines. They don't just use fat for energy. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body taps into various energy sources, including stored carbohydrates, even muscle protein.
Interesting. So it's not just eat less, burn fat straight away.
Not that simple, no.
Yeah.
Over time, yes, as your body adapts, you'll start burning a higher proportion of fat, but it's a process.
So patience is key. Now, speaking of food and portions and all that, let's talk stuffed sweet potato.
Ooh, delicious.
Right, a classic healthy meal. But one listener was wondering, how many grams of raw sweet potato should they aim for as a main course?
Ah, that's a good one. Portion sizes can be tricky. Sweet potatoes in particular, they vary so much in size.
Yeah, you get those monster ones sometimes.
Exactly. So it's hard to give a precise number in grams. But a good rule of thumb, aim for about a cup of cooked sweet potato as a serving.
Cooked, not raw. Got it. And of course, you can always bulk it up with other yummy toppings to make it a full meal.
Exactly. Add some protein, some healthy fats. Now, this next one's for all the folks out there concerned about their omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. They're trying to find that balance, but they're struggling to avoid those omega-6s.
Yeah, omega-6s, they get a bit of a bad rap, right?
They do.
Yeah.
And it's true that they're abundant in a lot of processed foods.
Yeah.
So the key is really to focus on boosting those omega-3s. Fatty fish, flax seeds, chia seeds, good stuff. And while you're at it, just be mindful of those processed foods and vegetable oils. They tend to be higher in omega-6s.
Got it. It's all about balance. Now, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we have to address the elephant in the room. Is it even possible to enjoy snacks and treats and also be healthy? One listener was lamenting they just cannot find satisfying replacements for their beloved chips, chocolate, and ice cream.
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. It is. Because let's be real, those processed snacks, they're engineered to be delicious.
They really are. Like food scientists, they know what they're doing. They're creating these flavor combinations that our brains, they just go crazy for.
It's like they're designed to be addictive.
It's true. Those salty, sugary, fatty combos, they trigger those reward centers in our brains. But, it's not about depriving yourself completely. It's about finding that balance.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, instead of thinking, I have to replace all my favorite snacks, how about thinking, can I pair my treat with something a bit more nourishing?
Okay, so instead of just diving into a bag of chips, I might have a handful with some apple slices or something.
Exactly. You're still getting that satisfying crunch, but you're also getting some fiber, some vitamins. It's a win-win.
I like it. And it feels less restrictive, too.
Right. Because deprivation, it just doesn't work long term. It usually backfires.
So true. Now, we've talked about the snacks that we know aren't great for us, but what about those health halo foods? The ones that sound super virtuous, but are actually packed with artificial ingredients?
Oh, those are sneaky.
Yeah.
Don't let the marketing fool you. Always, always, always read those nutrition labels.
Preach. But sometimes those labels are like a foreign language.
I know, right? Look for ingredients that you recognize, things you can actually pronounce. If it looks like a science experiment, it probably is.
Okay, good advice. Now, speaking of deciphering things, one listener wanted to know how to accurately track calories from home-cooked meals. It's not like restaurants where it's all laid out for you, right?
Totally. You got to do a bit of detective work.
So, how do we up our calorie tracking game in the kitchen?
Well, technology is our friend here. There are some really great apps and websites these days that can help you calculate calories for your recipes. You just pop in the ingredients, the amounts, and boom, you've got your estimate.
That is so much easier than trying to do the math myself.
Right. And for extra accuracy, invest in a kitchen scale. Measuring by weight is way more precise than those cup measurements, especially for things like oils and nuts, which can be really calorie dense.
Okay, kitchen scale. Got it. Now, shifting gears a bit, one listener was asking about intuitive eating. It sounds kind of like, throwing calorie counting out the window and just going with the flow.
It's definitely a different approach, that's for sure. Intuitive eating is all about rebuilding that trust with your body and its natural hunger cues.
So, listening to your body when it says it's hungry or full?
Exactly. And ditching those restrictive diet rules that can do more harm than good. It's about finding that balance between physical and emotional satisfaction with food.
Okay, so it's about tuning in rather than tuning out. Love that. Yeah. Speaking of tuning in, we had a question about mindful eating. Things like chewing your food thoroughly, putting your fork down between bites. Are those just trendy tips or is there something to them?
Those little things, they can actually make a big difference.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like when you chew your food thoroughly, you're giving your brain more time to register that you're full.
Okay, that makes sense. Less chance of overeating.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
putting your fork down between bites, that just forces you to slow down and savor the food.
Okay, so it's about being present, not just like shoveling it in.
Exactly. Mindfulness is a powerful tool, even when you're eating.
Who knew? Okay, now let's talk carbs. Everyone's got an opinion on carbs.
Right.
One listener wants to know the difference between simple carbs and complex carbs.
Ah, the age-old question. It's all about how those carbs are structured and how our bodies break them down. Simple carbs, like the ones in candy and white bread, they're like instant energy. Quick spike, then you crash. Complex carbs, on the other hand, think whole grains, veggies, those are digested slowly, so they provide more sustained energy.
So it's like the difference between a sprint and a marathon, kind of.
Exactly. You want those long-burning carbs to fuel your day.
Got it. Makes sense. All right, hydration. Seems simple, but we had a listener wondering about coffee and tea. Do those drinks actually dehydrate you?
It's a common myth. Here's the thing. Caffeine can have a mild diuretic effect, meaning you might pee a bit more.
Okay.
But those drinks, they also contain water.
Right.
So long as you're also drinking plenty of water throughout the day, you're good.
Awesome. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Our morning coffee is safe.
Safe and sound.
Perfect. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to address something that I know can feel super overwhelming. All the conflicting nutrition advice out there.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like everyone's an expert these days.
It's true. So how do we, as like regular people, figure out who to listen to?
It's tough, but here's the thing. Be skeptical. Don't just believe everything you read online or hear from, like that random person at the gym. Look for credible sources. Registered dietitians, nutrition scientists, reputable health organizations.
So do your research.
Yes. And remember, everyone's different. What works for one person might not work for another.
So true. Well, on that note of individuality and informed choices, we've reached the end of our nutrition deep dive. We've tackled some burning questions, busted some myths, and hopefully given you a little more confidence to navigate the world of food. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about finding what works for you, what makes you feel your best.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, happy eating, everyone.